The best nesting box is always the one that your friend is in. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Hoopty Hay Balers. Today, even though it looks like we are starting off with the skid steer and another hay bale, we are actually going to do a chicken video. Since chickens seem to be all the talk lately with the egg shortage, we thought we would give you a basic rundown on how we keep our chickens and maybe make you guys realize that you could do it too. So let's get started.
Ew. What was that?
It fell off the...
Must have had it on the
Here's a good question for Dave. Are eggs free?
Kinda.
When you get chickens, are eggs free?
Totally.
Are they?
Yeah, you just sell your extras and it all works out. Every time.
So what do chickens need for housing? Something dry, draft free. They don't need anything fancy or heated. We got a couple hanging feeders we gotta fill back up. Mostly...
You can buy these at TSC. They're probably like 25, 30 bucks. Or you can use an old dog dish or a bowl or the ground. They're chickens. They'll eat the food off the ground. You don't need a feeder.
But the feeder keeps the rats out.
Yeah, but if you got 6 chickens in your backyard, do you really need this $30 feeder? Probably not.
I hope they're not 30 bucks a pop now, because that'd be pretty sad.
Your water, a bowl. You could use your bowl for water.
Yeah, we use a bowl for water. We don't have a fancy water, especially not in the winter.
As far as your coop goes, you could probably make one out of pallets and a tarp, honestly. You don't need anything fancy.
No, they just need what? Dry, draft free for the most part, and a place to get out of the wind. Chickens don't like wind. Oh, got 2 roosters trying to... Oh, that's a rooster and a hen, just kidding. Knock it off, guys.
Want their hackles up.
Yep. Then they just need a place to roost. Dave made our roost out of an old ladder.
Yep, it wasn't fit for climbing on anymore, but for chickens it's perfect. Because, you know, they each get a step. I mean, the ones that are up there, if they're roosting down here, they kind of get pooped on. But they kind of organize themselves so they're not in the landing zone.
Yep, and then we just clean this out more often. Over here, you guys have seen us do that. We have a drop-down style guillotine door for in and outs. That just ties up with a old piece of baling twine that's getting to be pretty thin. They do get dusty. You will have to come in fairly often and dust, which is something I've been slacking on.
If you got a big coop like this.
Yeah, if you have a big coop like this. Anything special for nesting boxes? What'd you do for nesting boxes when we first got chickens? Because this was all different, wasn't it?
No, this was here.
Oh, it was.
Yep, these are all here. The only thing I added was a little front piece on here. And then if you have a big one like this, you want to have a tapered roof. And you can see, because there's a gap here, they can still roost up here. So that just keeps the poop from getting up there. I mean, obviously this isn't working the way it should be. If I put another piece up here at an angle, they wouldn't be able to stand up there and poop everywhere. But you could honestly probably use like you could even nail milk crates to the wall as long as they're enclosed. You know, like, you don't want a bunch of sunlight coming in because then they won't feel safe in there and they probably won't lay their eggs in there. They'll probably go lay them under your bushes somewhere in the yard. Wood would be like the minimum thing that I would use. But I don't think you need to go out and buy a $100 or $200 metal nesting box just for your backyard chickens. I think that you wouldn't make your money back after that.
You think your hens are pretty happy?
I think so.
I think so.
She says, I'm trying to lay in.
I know. This is the noisy one. Hey, you. Oh, she's broody.
Little broody.
Little broody action going on here.
You get your tail up any higher, everything's gonna hit you in the head.
But ain't she pretty? This is our Splash Americana.
Mm-hmm. She's not as mean as that other one.
No, she's not as mean. She's a nice hen.
Finger clean off.
And this is our, what did we say she was? A barred rock?
Yep.
Barred rock. We like her. We're going to get more of her, hopefully this summer, maybe next summer. We'll see. But there you guys have it. Nothing super fancy. What did we use for bedding?
Just some pine shavings from TSC, or you can use straw. Or heck, I don't know. You could probably even use like.
I've heard people using dried leaves, sand, shredded newspaper.
Yeah. Whatever's good and cheap in your area, basically.
Because we used to always use straw.
Yeah, the only problem with straw is when it gets wet and packed down, it sticks together like Velcro.
And since we added the waterfowl, that's been kind of the issue.
Yeah, the other thing, if you got waterfowl with your chickens, like gooses or ducks, any kind of water they get, they're just going to make a mess. Especially if you keep it inside the chicken coop. They're going to want to try and bathe in it all the time, flip it over. So if you have them together, and I'm going to build this later on, they have little, they're almost like nipple drinkers, but they have like a little valve that the chickens peck at. And then it actually lets just a little bit of water out. And then your ducks and your geese can't completely dump a whole bucket of water on your nice dry shavings or straw, whatever you have.
Nice dry bedding.
But that's pretty much it. Chickens are pretty easy to keep. You just.
And this is just our layer setup, so.
Yeah.
Nothing fancy.
This is just what we had. This was already here.
Yep. We just made a couple improvements.
Yep. It was kind of already set up for chickens. They must have kept them in here in the past. It already had the chicken wire. We just put a short door here, which I want to fix later, so you don't have to bend over all the time getting in here.
You don't like hitting your head every time you get in?
No. And yeah, we just added some perches in here so they can roost.
Alright, and since we're discussing chickens, we thought we would touch a bit on what we use as a brooder. This is really old. My dad built this back when I was showing chickens in 4-H. It's just some coated welded wire, and then about halfway down it's smaller chicken wire, so that way the little chicks cannot get in and out. It just has a plywood bottom. Our favorite bedding to use for the chicks is pine shavings, and so we just put a good coating of pine shavings because you don't want anybody to be slipping. And because we do run a heat lamp, we run this with either these clips or some chain so that it doesn't get, we don't want to start any kind of fires. And then we can also run these extra clips along our fencing so that everything stays nice and tight. And that way, you know, you don't have any other kind of critters messing with it. That's actually why this is in the rabbitry, is because I can fully enclose the rabbitry, so I know the cat's not messing with them, the bigger chickens aren't messing with them, the goose isn't getting in here messing with them. I have peace of mind knowing, especially when I'm running a heat lamp, that they are completely undisturbed. This is also probably the most draft-free area of the barn. So, ideally, we're not getting chicks this year at this time, but we wanted to give you guys a quick rundown. But ideally, before adding any chicks here, especially before starting this light, you'd come out here with the air compressor and the blowgun and just kind of clean this off really well so you don't have any residue dust sitting on your heat lamp source or your heat source. If you didn't want to run a heat lamp, you could alternately run one of those heat plates that sit a few inches up off the ground, and that allows the chicks to get up underneath them. I just don't personally have any experience doing that. So we run just a traditional heat lamp, and then we would put our chick feeders and waters over here away from our heat source. Do you have anything special to add about starting chicks?
Alright, you went to TSC, you left with chicks even though you went there for dog food.
That never happens.
You're at home and you need a brooder.
Pops made it, and that it's old, and it's just old scrap like 1x1s with old scrap fencing on it. Huh?
2x2s.
2x2s? Oh, guys, see, I can't judge distance.
Yeah, so you can either buy like 6 2x2s and nail them together in a box and put chicken wire all around it. I suggest maybe putting like a hardware net around it instead, because the chicks will be able to get through stuff like this. So we put a smaller chicken wire, like a 1-inch chicken wire around it, just so they couldn't get out. You can honestly even use a dog crate. You got a dog crate?
Yeah, we've used dog crates. Yep.
I mean, anything you got. You need a box with ventilation, no draft, so keep your box in a non-drafty area, but you need a box with some ventilation and a heat lamp, basically.
Yep.
And
a heat source, so either your heat lamp or your heat plate. And guys, you could even use, like Dave was saying, you could even use what, a dog crate, the water troughs, the Rubbermaid totes, you could make something fancy, but it doesn't have to be fancy.
You just need a container with a light, and then you basically just let the chicks tell you if the heat lamp's too hot. If they're all on the other side of the cage, raise your heat lamp up. If they're all huddled in a little ball, then you know that they're cold and they're trying to get as much heat as they can.
Yep. And so ideally, if you guys wanted to make sure that this was perfect, you'd have your shavings in here, and you would take a thermometer and you'd put that underneath your lamp, and you want your chicks for the first, I think, week or so to be 90 to 95 degrees.
But they're smart. Once they're hobbling around, they'll tell you if they're.
Oh yeah, you'll know.
So don't overthink it too much. Don't be like checking them every 10 minutes. Oh my gosh, they're a degree off. They're gonna die. They're chicks. They're gonna be okay. I mean, if they're too hot, they'll move. If they're too cold, they'll move. I mean, you just gotta kind of watch them and read what they're doing. You don't have to. Don't overthink it.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Is that our system?
Yes.
It is.
Yep.
So this is what we feed our layers. This is a layer ration in a pellet form. You can get this in crumbles. You'll hear us refer to this as a 16%. When we say 16% or 18% or 22%, that's referring to the protein content of our feed. So this is not what we start our baby chicks on. We will start our chicks on Chick Starter, which is, I believe, typically 18 to 22%. I could look up our brand that we typically use and see what percent exactly it is, but we start them on that. Free choice. And they stay on that until just about 17 to 20-ish weeks, and then we start to slowly switch them over to a layer ration. Now again, guys, this is just on our layers. This is not how we start our broilers. That is a whole different story. All right, so this is one of the options available to us at our local Tractor Supply. This is 4 layers. This is the pellets, and it is a 16% protein feed. Makes it super easy. So this is supposed to be balanced for our laying hens. Now we do add some goodies because they are spoiled. So they get this as their base. So they get that layer feed as their base, and then we spoil ours with oats, black oil sunflower seeds, and some cracked corn, which I am currently out of, so I cannot show you that. This is supposed to contain everything that your layers need. We just add in extras because ours are spoiled. And another thing to keep in mind with your feed is rat and mouse proof containers. Ideally, we would not have the black oil sunflower seeds and the oats sitting out. Ideally, they would all be mixed in right away with the chicken ration. I bought too much, so it didn't quite happen this time, but pest-proof bins are very important. And remember, guys, a lot of our hens free range whenever possible. So not only are they getting that layer ration, but in the summer especially, they're getting out in the grass, and they're getting out in the garden, and they're getting out in the field across the way, and they're getting bugs and seeds and anything else that they can find. And they are little omnivores that will eat just about anything. You can see they've got ours here where they free range. They have plenty of grit. Gotta have grit to make healthy chickens. Grit is actually how they grind up their food because they do not have teeth. They are cleaning up an egg that was broken. So when it comes to waters, you can get these great big fancy waters. This one's plastic. They come in metal, you can get them so they autofill with a hose. They work via gravity. This one needs to be cleaned again. I haven't filled it up because I don't want it to freeze and break the plastic, which is what happened to our last one. You can get these heated. You can get heated bases for them. We've had enough issues with the heated ones that we just don't run them in the winter. This is what I run all summer. It holds 5 gallons. It keeps it clean, and I clean it about once a week. In the winter, I run the plastic Rubbermaid tubs, or the Rubbermaid tubs. We fill them with warm water in the winter, and this will also stay out in the summer because we have the Goofy Goose. He likes to play in extra stuff. He does also have a pool, but you guys can see it, maybe you can see it did not survive the winter. It got frozen to the ground, and when we went to get our pigs, we went to move it and it cracked. So we threw it over here so it wouldn't blow away. But they don't need anything fancy, just clean water, access to clean water. And yes, even though you give them clean water, they will still, some of them, choose to drink the muddy water. But making sure they have access to clean water all the time is very important. Another option you could use instead of a tote, instead of a Rubbermaid pan or an actual self-waterer. But that over there that he is standing next to is a 3-gallon heated waterer. And so yeah, nothing fancy, just making sure that they have water. That's all that's really important. And while we were talking about the coop, another thing that's important to keep in mind when you are thinking about housing for your chickens is going to be keeping it mostly predator proof, which is why we have the chain link with the option to close them in. So we have kind of a double layer. We have the chain link, which we close up at night, and then the guillotine door, so that way less predators can get in. We have chickens of multiple breeds. Most of these guys are what we call production reds. They're not a purebred, they are a hybrid. Some Americanas, or that's at least what she's supposed to be. Some silver laced Wyandottes. The rooster and this hen here are light Brahmas. Big red over here is a Rhode Island red rooster. And then we have a couple over here. Came in a batch last year. They came in the mail and they were just a mixed batch. So like this gal over here, and she's kind of tucked behind the barred rock over there. And I'm expecting that they're just kind of crosses as well, either Easter eggers or olive eggers or something along those lines. But those are just our egg layers. We have plenty of barnyard mutts, including this gal and this gal. We have one, she is a speckled Sussex. She is the only one that made it last year. Chickens are super fun, and we hope you guys give them a chance. They don't really take tons of extra or fancy equipment. We started raising chickens when I was in, I think the 2nd grade, maybe the 3rd grade. We were pretty young, and my dad found somebody who was selling old, used semi-trailer doors, and that is actually what he used to build our first chicken coop. And so it wasn't anything fancy. It served its purpose, and that was all that mattered. And remember to keep in mind, guys, that this is just how we happen to do things. We are always trying to improve things and improve our system, and so things are changing up all the time. But again, this is just how we do things, and that does not mean that it's always perfect. So everybody says, don't get a rooster because they are so noisy, right? Well, you guys have been hearing that hen. Oh my goodness. She has a lot to say. Here's another pretty green one. You want it? We hope you guys enjoyed and all learned a little something about chickens. They're not as difficult as maybe you thought they were to start with. And thanks for joining us, guys, and we hope to catch you next time.